Hey, what is up, phone lovers? Welcome to the Mobile Roar podcast for the week of March 11th, 2015. I'm Joe Fidua.
I am Chris Chavez.
And I am Kevin Krause.
Thanks for those homemade sound effects.
They were pretty good.
You should actually do that every week because people who listen to the audio version never even hear the Google Plus
Oh,
sound.
that's true.
So we're back. Did not record last week because Chris was in Barcelona, Mobile
We're
World
on
Congress.
on hiatus. That's what
And yeah, quite a bit has happened since our last podcast, which we have to apologize for. Had some error where the last 22 minutes were kind of lost forever. You guys are just never going to know what we were talking about.
Never know what happened. I showed up.
It was pretty dang
Galaxy.
good, too. Yeah.
You had to be there live. That's why you got to tune in every week around 2 p.m., depending on when Chris is ready.
Yeah. Asterisk when Chris is ready.
I feel like wash my face.
So quite a bit happened. Like we said, Mobile World Congress, also an Apple event. I guess we'll just start in chronological order. The first device that was announced was the HTC One M9 last Sunday. Chris, what are your thoughts about this? First thing, our leak was right. We got to make that clear.
Yeah.
That feels good. I think that was probably the best. I mean, yeah. While collectively all the Android just fans around the world were just like it's freaking out. I was like, yeah, like we got it. Our leak nailed it. But yeah. So the phone came out or as a release or announced. There you go, announced. Looks cool. Looks good. Did you guys see it?
Yeah.
Can you guys spot the differences between the last version and this version, or do you think they're just completely identical?
Well, there are two differences.
Mhm.
The camera and it's more of a brushed texture. I think those are pretty much the two differences.
Yeah,
Is the screen
well,
size identical and the size is identical and everything?
yeah, I think that screen size might be like 0.01 bigger or something ridiculous like that, but I mean they're pretty much spot on. But the front, basically on the 1M8, if I had it, my girlfriend's got it, but on the front of the 1M8 they had like this plastic rim that goes all along the front, and they completely got rid of that little plastic rim. I'm not sure why they had it there before, but um, it's gone now. Now, like I guess if the phone is two pieces, there's the top half and the bottom half. Bottom half has like different color sides. It's two-tone. The finish is different. They've changed the finish so that it almost feels more rough because the edges are very, very sharp on it, and they polished it up and did some weird things to get that two-tone going. I don't know. That HTC is really good with their metal stuff. I don't know who their supplier is for all that stuff, but they got that two-tone finish, and it's a lot more grippy. It's not as Teflon-y as the previous version. Previous version felt like it was coated in like oleophobic Teflon
Yeah, it
stuff.
was super,
So
super slick.
no matter what, I mean, it was impossible to get a good solid grip on that thing. Plus, it was heavy, so like no matter what, it just felt like it was always trying to like kill itself and jump out of your hands. This new model, stupid light. It's like Samsung light as far as weight goes. So you always feel like it's not trying to like jump out of your fingers, and then it's polished now. Almost feels more like a raw metal, except for along the sides where it's kind of like glossy-ish metal, and it just sticks to your hand so much better. And then the front just looks pretty much the same, but they did refine it. So it's kind of hard. Like most people probably wouldn't even pick it up, but on the 1M8, the front speakers were actually just like these faux metal stickers that just went over, I guess, the glass or the top of the phone. But now it's like one actual aluminum piece where like a glass just sits on it in the middle, which is pretty neat. So it's definitely more refined. I mean, I get what HTC is trying to do, but I mean, Samsung's doing it for years, right? I mean, every single previous Samsung phone has pretty much looked identical to the new one, and nobody seemed to freak out about that. But they kind of built that track record, so no one really saw this coming as far as HTC goes. Everyone kind of thought they would do something new and fresh and crazy, but
Yeah.
the one M8 looked awesome. Aside from that stupid bezel, which is this one thing that I just can't seem to wrap my head around why they didn't get rid of it. But I'm sure they'll do it next year.
I saw
Um,
somebody explain the bezel. I guess since they have the boom sound speakers, I guess that bezel with the logo is where they keep their like display drivers and stuff.
Yeah, I mean it's
Put them where the speakers are, but I guess the boom sound speakers are so much bigger. I don't know.
yeah. They said like it's got the boom sound. They have some sort of like the audio stuff, amplifiers in there somewhere. I mean, no matter what, you can have anything, and you can stick a display on top of it. So it's like all that stuff could be under the display. You just got to figure it out in engineering and stuff. And if your phone has to be thicker, make it thicker. I mean, shuffle stuff around. If Samsung can do it, if Motorola can do it, and Motorola supposedly has some sort of weird audio amp in there on the Moto X and stuff, I mean, all these other OEMs can do it. Take it apart, see what works, and try to make it work on your phone. It just seems so insane to me that they're just like, nope, there's nothing we can do about it. And at some point, they're going to fix it. At some point, they will have an all display, and they're just going to be like, well, you know, our little elves figured it out for this year. It's crazy, but it can be done. It can be done, and it's just really silly that they just continually don't care about it from a design perspective. To me, it's so ugly. It's not going to make or break the phone. I mean, I've seen people like, oh, there's no way I'm going to buy it because it has that logo bar. I mean, it's silly to even say something like that.
You were in that camp with the one M8, Chris. Don't act like
You said it, but you still bought it.
I'm crazy. The difference between that is I'm weird about stuff like that, and I just sit there staring at my phone sometimes.
There's other people that are weird about that. So
Yeah.
it's a thing. I mean, so they've improved the design subtly, and I don't even really have that much of an issue with the design being pretty similar looking because I like the look of the M8. I think that's one of the best designed smartphones of last year, if not best looking Android phones we've ever seen.
Yeah, still looks great.
But I honestly was not that impressed with what HTC did with the hardware. It just seems like it didn't have anything that really standed out as a real wow feature. The display is still right. It's still 1080p or not. It's not 2K, right? Is it?
Yeah,
2K?
it's 1080p.
Yeah.
1080, yeah.
I mean, it's have the 810 in there, the Snapdragon 810,
Snapdragon 810,
which is nice.
3
That's
gigs
pretty
of
good.
RAM.
3 gigs of RAM.
It seems like the biggest real like spec difference really is the camera.
Yeah, the camera, they bumped that sucker up. I think, what is it, 20 megapixels now?
20.7 megapixels.
But 20.7 isn't even something we haven't seen before, really, because Sony's had a few phones that have had that 20.7
Right.
megapixel sensor. So
It's the same sensor. It's the same sensor as these Sony phones. They just.
But I think it is a big deal on the M9 because that was a lot of people had an issue with the camera on the M8 and you know all the ultra pixel nonsense and whatever. They just kind of like, all right, here's a regular 28 megapixel camera.
Yeah, like,
what did
I
you think
think-
of the camera, Chris?
Well, we tried it out a lot, and I want to say that it's better. It's definitely more high res. The problem was, and this was kind of I think a fail on HTC's part, was their booth was so dimly lit, and that was probably the dumbest way to show off your camera is to have this really dimly lit booth. I mean, there was bright areas and like little spotlights shining here and there, but overall everything was dark. So if you point the camera next to you, the guy next to you, and try and take a picture of like that guy, it was dark, and the images really weren't that great because I mean the ISO had to jump up, and then you had the software kicking in trying to filter out some of the noise and all this other stuff, and it just wasn't as great as it could have been. At one point, me and Rob went back to the booth, and the sunlight was coming in. Like there was like this little overhead little thing, and it was at the right time of day, and it was coming in and just shining down on this one specific spot, and I had Rob stand there, and it looked awesome. I mean, the picture that shot is everything everyone's been wanting, which is just a super high-res image, and it looked great. It looked, I would say, comparable to the S6 or the S5 or any of these other phones with like high megapixel shooters, but it looked good. So I think it's definitely an improvement over the Ultra Pixel, but in low light, I think it's still going to suffer from the same pitfalls as every other smartphone, which apparently nobody cares about until they lose it. And I'm sure someone out there, like there's going to be regular old just soccer moms or someone that's going to complain when they're trying to take a shot in the restaurant and it's coming out all blurry and grainy and ugly. But it's good. The camera was good. So everything, I don't think it was a complete home run for HTC. I think it was more like a triple. It was a triple.
I mean, I just can't believe I'm gonna say it, but I actually and normally I'm a very simple, I like simple, straightforward
Well,
stuff.
I'm a simple man.
But I can't believe
say this. Oh man.
I just would have liked HTC to have done like one new gimmick that would have been cool. Like Samsung has a lot of like gimmicks that were cool to look at, like the improved fingerprint scanner. They still have a heart rate sensor. They've got all these other kind of the curved edge displays. They've got all this kind of gimmicky stuff, which might just be gimmicky, but it at least makes it unique and interesting.
Yeah.
And cool. HTC is just kind of bland. It's just a phone. It's a nice phone. It's a phone that's going to work well and has a nice design and is powerful. But
Yeah.
I'd say while the phone itself, it remains to be seen how it stacks up in real-world use against, say, the S6 or any other phone. I think HTC really kind of dropped the ball in really wowing us at Mobile World Congress. I think they lost their thunder immediately when an hour later everyone went to the Samsung event, you know?
Yeah, that was horrible too. I mean, holy dang. Holy damn.
Well, it's like with the HTC One 9, you have to. I'm trying to think like, okay, when they start having commercials on TV for this thing, what is their selling point going to be?
They
What is
still
the big
they still have specific advantages, and one, it's the software I think is still snappier and more responsive than even the S6. Although Samsung did do some nice tricks on TouchWiz. I would still say HTC is faster overall. They do have a bigger battery, so potentially better battery life in that regard. They're both using different processors, so how they handle battery life, how they handle performance, is still remains to be seen. So there's still, like, I think a lot of some of the finer stuff, like just from the hardware side, you're just looking at raw specs and this and that. I mean, it's really not too big of a difference, but I think it's still, like, the phones will behave very differently. And, I mean, ultimately it's going to be up to reviewers to kind of judge and see which phones gets that slight edge. And I think the 1M9 will come out on top. The Galaxy S6, I just got that initial wow factor because, you know, it's so different, so fresh and new from Samsung that it just seemed to get all the attention this year. I mean, for sure.
Well, let's transition to the S6.
Yeah.
Talk about that because you were really impressed with it at first. You were saying.
At first you were saying, yeah. It's a good-looking phone, right? I mean, it's all glass on the front, glass on the back, which is totally different from what Samsung's done. I would have liked to have seen maybe just like a metal back or something, but I don't know if metal is in short supply with Samsung or if HTC's just sucking it all up or what. But
HTC and Apple just have like the world's supply of.
I mean, really,
busy filming a video for every kind of metal out there.
Oh God!
There's two totally different like design philosophies. Like HTC, you got this industrial, very modern, cool look, where Samsung always tries to go for something a little more conservative, a little more flashy and shiny. They love shiny. Like that's always been Samsung's thing. Like,
some of those color options were just too shiny.
Yeah, it's obviously it's gaudy. Like if you really do look at it, like I think a lot of people are kind of saying that too. They ditched any kind of leather. There's no more sleather at all. Even on the cases, everything, all the sleather's gone. Everything is like this metallic-y, shiny, high gloss. Plastic. It's nuts. And
like they had like there's a photo you took of it with one of the cases on. It's like the blue front version of it, and it just looks kind of ridiculous. It looks like someone put it looks like it still has that piece of like blue protective film on it. You know, that you need to.
I hate the blue version. Like
that's
I
my
love
favorite
blue.
color. My favorite color was that weird.
You hate blue.
No, that blue. It's that weird candy like.
Man, that blue is so
metallic.
much uglier than like a navy blue on the Nexus 6. That blue is horrendous. Are you a 13-year-old girl?
They also had a navy blue as well. I mean, you'd have to see it in person. That's all I can say.
Did they have a pink one too? Or
You
was
guys
that
weren't
HTC?
there. No, they didn't have a pink one. HTC had a pink one.
Are these color options going to be widely available everywhere, or are they going to be like?
I mean, that's always the question with HTC. Like, I mean, at Samsung. Like HTC, it's like we have a 32 gigabyte model. This is what you're going to get. This is where it'll be available. You'll have these color options, whatever. But like Samsung, it's like everything is kind of in the air. They have so many different hardware variants. They have all these different internal storage sizes. They have all this other stuff, and you're never really sure what your carrier is going to get specifically. So while you can say, well, that 64 gigabyte version just completely smashes the HTC One, you might not even get it. You might be stuck with the 32 gigabyte version for T-Mobile or something. There's really no saying for sure. So
the other question I have was everything I've seen so far only talks about Samsung's Exynos 7 processor. Are they going to have a Snapdragon version like they've always had, or are they strictly Samsung in-house processor now?
Strictly Samsung in-house processor for now. which apparently is more advanced. It's got like the FinFET architecture. It's 14 nanometer, so it's supposed to just sit battery life. Unfortunately, we couldn't really test it there. Although we did have a lot of devices that were there, and I didn't really see like the battery dip too much with the stuff that we were doing with them. But yeah, I mean, I guess it just remains to be seen. Like, there's still, I mean, I think you still have to kind of rely on reviews before giving either phone like the clear advantage. I don't think either one has it yet, but so it's gonna be close. It's gonna be a close battle, a lot closer than it was with the S5 versus the One M8 last year. I mean, the One M8 completely destroyed the S5, but
Yeah.
I think Samsung has all the attention right now for sure.
Speaking of the S5 and design and everything, I'm like the standard version of the S6. For how different it kind of looks overall. I'm still, it still looks very similar to the S5 on a straight-on view. You can barely tell the two apart.
Yeah, you have to double take. Even myself, I'm like, and that's the S. Wait, I have to like kind of look to the side. Oh yeah, that's the S5.
But that Edge though, man, I really like the Edge, and it's obvious that Samsung's featuring the Edge prominently in advertising, and I think it's fair to say that if they could have a better supply chain and pricing, they probably would have just released the Edge as just the S6 because that stole the show to me. I thought the S6 Edge was really cool.
One person. I mean, like if you even look online, like no one really did a hands-on with the original S6. Like everyone's just like made a beeline straight for the Edge. I mean, no one gave a rat's ass about the S6. It's just because it was. If they had only released that, I think it would have been like, okay, the One M9 beats it again. But it was the Edge. The Edge was the clear edge. I mean, it gave them the edge. Like.
Well, I think what's cool about it to me is that I mean I don't know if you guys have had much of a chance to use the Galaxy Note Edge or I don't think that's a very widespread handset, but the Note Edge, which only had one curved edge and which kind of had a wonky software implementation with how that edge worked. The thing I really liked about the S6 Edge is not only do you have the two edges, but they have, I think, better incorporated the way the edge works on a software level on a display level. It seems a little more intuitive.
Technically, the edge was so small that even if you hold it from the side, you really can't see the edge at all. Like there's not much curve going on. I mean, the glass curves, yes, the glass curves all the way, giving it three sides, but the actual display itself, I mean, it barely wraps over the edge like ever so slightly. I think it's more of an optical illusion in the way when you hold it just looking straight at it from the face, the glass itself starts curving really early on, so it creates like this illusion with your eye, and it kind of makes you fools your eye into thinking that it's curving more than it is, but really it's not, and it's definitely not as prominent as it was on the Note Edge, which could literally be used as.
Well, the Note Edge is just a lot bigger of a device.
Yeah, I mean, and even still, they could have brought that edge down a little bit lower and kind of just used it a little bit more better, but I mean, there's no real functionality that the Edge screen brings. It's really cool looking, it's really flashy and pretty. And to me, it really does give Samsung that edge. I mean, they couldn't do an all-metal phone for whatever reason. Their designs are always kind of ho-hum. But now that they have this curved display that apparently, HTC and some of these other vendors can't get, it's just like, it really does. I mean, it helps it stand out on its own. And even when compared with the iPhone 6 or any of these other phones that look great, everyone loves them, but the S6 Edge just looks so awesome with that double curve.
That's what I like about it. It's not so much gimmicky this time, and I think it makes for a more ergonomic device because you know how much of the Android UI relies on like swiping from the sides. I've seen a lot of people talk about how much easier it is to do on the Edge.
Yeah, you really just it'll be interesting, and they have options too, so. That some of the UI elements that you have to do from the Edge, you can move it from side to side. So Samsung's kind of gone with the right side of the display, and it's probably better that way because the left side is always where you have all those Android hamburger menu stuff, that little nav pull out. But it's cool. The S6 is cool. I think it'll be my go-to device. Like when it comes down to it, which phone I'm going to rush out and buy first, it's probably going to be the Edge, probably without a doubt.
Yeah, to be completely honest, between the three, I think I might have to pick the Edge at 2, which is kind of weird for me to say because I'm not a big fan of Samsung stuff, but I do think the Edge looks pretty awesome.
I'm holding out to see what LG does. I always am interested, and they've got the
Yeah.
potential to do something cool with a curve.
So yeah, we still have. I mean, that's an interesting point. We still have a wild card for. I mean, later this year, there might be a Z4 eventually later this year. There still might be a, what is it? The G4 is still got to be announced. So there's still a couple more flagships that have yet to be announced, and it'll be interesting to see what they do because the S6 is just so special as far as that design goes. The Edge just really makes it so stand out so much. And I mean, LG kind of tried to do it with the G Flex 2, that little weird curve. But I think Samsung, that little side curve thing is a lot better implemented. But yeah, I don't know. It'll be fun. It'll be fun to see, and especially what I'm curious to see is how, I don't think we ever threw up a poll on Fandroid, but how all these Samsung Knights are going to feel about losing their SD card, losing their removable battery. I mean, these are these truths they've held on to. It's like in their Samsung Bible that they've had for so long.
No, it's okay now, Chris. It's okay now.
No, the Ten Commandments
Samsung
of
says
Samsung.
it's okay. It's okay.
That was like the Old Testament. Now we're in like the New Testament.
Yeah, now honestly we are. That was all BC. This is all after. But it's I still see people. They're still pissed about it. They're like, no, forget about it. I'm just gonna go. And
S5 forever.
They have nowhere to go. The only place they can go is to like these super old devices and stuff.
5 years from now, there's gonna be like this small group of people still using the Galaxy S5.
I mean, that's kind of what happens. You see that in other stuff too, like cars and stuff. People just hang on to like those old like '67 Mustangs or something. Like, no, it was a classic.
You guys, Samsung though. Samsung is going to release 10 million variants of this. One's going to have a removable battery.
The Samsung Knight version.
Just a big old sword.
Yeah, Samsung Galaxy S6 Excalibur.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't even think about that. And yeah, if there's anyone that's going to do that, it's going to be Samsung, like without a doubt. They'll have the purest edition.
The S6 though, I think it has a non-removable battery, but it's a big win for wireless charging though, because it'll be one of the first phones that is going to be widely bought that has standard wireless charging.
That is awesome. That's going to push us. Yes, that is so true. That is so true. I mean, before it was always an option, like with the S5 and some of the other phones, but like now it's already built in. And it's going to be a tremendously successful phone. It's going to be everywhere now. So now everyone will have these wireless charging things, and it's great. It's great. It'll finally kind of advance that further. We talked about it, I think, like 2 weeks ago or something.
Yeah, and I think you guys did like 3 videos of how to wireless charge it, so everyone should be covered when they get it.
The funniest thing was that our first wireless charging thing, they had it on display, but they didn't have the wireless chargers plugged in. So it was kind of stupid. I'm like, oh, they're just a stand. It's pointless. Don't even do it. But then Rob's like, we should do a video on the wireless charger. And I was like, that's going to be the dumbest. Why? It doesn't even work.
Well, I mean, everyone knows what it's going to do when you
and
set
then
it on there. It's not like it needs to...
This is how it would work. You'd put the phone on top. And I was just laughing like, this is the lamest video ever. Turns out, like a day later, it was like, I think it still might be one of our most successful, our highest viewed videos on YouTube. And it's just like, Rob's like,
Well, not of Mobile World Congress, it did pretty good.
Yeah, Mobile World. It was up there. And I couldn't believe it. It was so ridiculous. So once we finally got our hands on like a working version, of course, it was just like, we got to show it off now that it works. And we had to do another video. And yeah.
So speaking of special editions for things, I'm going to segue into the Apple Watch. But before I do, let me show you this video about how we make segues here at Apple. No, I'm just kidding. So Apple Watch, Monday.
Oh my God, it was like pulling teeth watching that thing. They rehashed the same exact presentation from like whenever they first announced the Apple Watch. Was that the iPhone event or WWDC?
Yeah, there was not a lot of new information.
Yeah, except for pricing was the main thing.
And pricing is probably the main thing to talk about. So starts at $349.
I gotta close my window.
What's going on?
I don't know what. It's LA. It's LA life. Hold on.
And the Bloods are outside.
So I guess I'll just run down the pricing. The Apple Watch Sport starts at $349, and then the Apple Watch starts at $549, and the Apple Watch Edition starts at a whopping $10,000.
Apple Watch Edition.
And actually, people discovered like the highest or the most expensive configuration that you can make is $17,000. So pretty ridiculous.
The funny thing I read about this was so the edition version, which
Edition.
why would they name it that? Because now you want to be like the
Edition.
Apple Watch edition, you know, like the Apple Sport edition, the Apple.
No, they super sucked these names because they also have one that's just plain Apple Watch.
I thought it was Apple Watch Collection. Is the middle.
On their official site, it's
No, it's just Apple Watch.
Apple Watch Sport, Apple Watch, and then Apple Watch Edition.
Whatever. They're two. So the Apple Watch edition apparently it's so expensive and it's made out of gold. But I read like an article like saying that Apple figured out the way to use the least amount of gold possible to make this watch. So it's
Oh
like
yeah,
you're spending all this money and it's not even like a nice solid
I
hunk
can't
of gold.
wait for someone to figure out how much the Apple Watch Edition actually costs to make. It will be hilarious.
Oh yeah, they're gonna do a teardown.
That you wonder because the premium has to be at a certain point. The electronics are covered. They can't add a premium to the electronic part. So the premium and the price is all down to materials. So it's got to be
Yeah.
10,000. It's got to be okay. Let's assume that it's like $200 worth of material for the electronics. So then you're at like $9,800 worth of materials for the build. It's
But I love this. This is what I've been saying for so long when it comes to Apple is that it's really become like a high-end tech. It's like the equivalent of like those jeans, those expensive like $400 jeans and like the DKNY and the Gucci bags and all that stuff. I mean, yeah, we know those bags don't cost that much to make, but it's just so like it's a must-have thing, and that's like kind of where Apple has kind of just veered themselves, and they're in a very unique position in that like no one else you can say does that. Everyone always tries to compete on price. Everyone's trying to offer you like the most specs for the money and do all this other stuff, whereas Apple is like, we're gonna give you something that is okay hardware-wise, but it looks gorgeous, and it's like a status symbol. I mean, that's what the iPhone always has been, a status symbol, and the MacBook Pros and all this other stuff. So it's like this phone, I mean, this watch, like completely epitomizes that. I mean, $10,000 for just for the sake of it, just for the hell of it. If you
Yeah,
have that kind of money.
There's been just like so much talk about this expensive watch. You know, I saw a few places say like the Apple Watch is the watch that you get when you want it to look like you have a lot of money, but people who actually have like a lot of money don't buy the Apple Watch. They buy like actual watches
the
that
actual
are
expensive
awesome.
watches.
Yeah, because
I mean,
another awesome article I read, I think this was on The Verge. Like, so you pay $10,000 for the Apple Watch, and this is a gadget essentially. This is gonna be it's made in a factory. And
obsolete.
in a couple of years, it's not gonna be great. But people who buy actual nice watches for $10,000, these are like handmade watches that are gonna last years and years, and you can like hand them down to your kids and stuff like that. So I don't know.
Good times.
Apple can't even really compete with stuff like that.
I think the Apple Watch edition, and they said it's going to be limited quantities. I think that's just like to say they did it to just be like.
Yeah.
I think that's like a statement to be like, take us seriously. Like we're taking this seriously. They're saying we take this seriously as like a luxury timepiece. Like we're not
Right.
just making a little smartwatch. We're making like a real legitimate watch. I think that's the point they're trying to make. But I don't think they're going to sell many of those. I mean, there'll be people that definitely buy them. They'll sell them.
Definitely. I'll put money that we'll see like Kim Kardashian or like Kanye West or something sporting that thing.
But they probably don't even have to buy it. Apple just gives it to them.
Yeah, I mean whether or not they even buy it, which they could, just just like nothing. But yeah, Apple's gonna be giving it to. It's gonna be like the Beats headphones all over again and stuff. I mean, you're gonna see it everywhere.
And so get this: you spend $10,000 on your Apple Watch edition, and then it kind of loses half its functionality. Because do you really want to go get all sweaty running with your gold Apple Watch on? Like, is that something you
I
want
think
to do?
we're kind of missing the point. I don't think Apple's selling it to kind of try to make a profit off of it, especially given its limitedness of it. They're doing it to kind of keep that whole. I mean, the way you look at it, that perception and the public perception of Apple itself is just like they're going to see this $10,000 watch. So people that are wearing it, if they give it to someone, say Kanye West or something, no skin off Apple's nose, it didn't really cost them that much to begin with, but they're going to give it to Kim Kardashian. People are going to see that and just see, and Kim's going to want to wear it because she knows it's $10,000. She knows that it's limited. Not that many people have it. So yeah, she's going to be flaunting it, showing it off, and then people are going to see that and think, wow, the Apple Watch is so great. I
But
wish
I'm
I
saying,
could buy one.
but I'm saying even a normal person that spends $550 for the regular Apple Watch that has a steel band, you're not going to want to wear that when you go out running, and then you lose all the fitness aspect of it. You know, you're going to have to buy if like.
Yeah, you have to
Yeah.
buy another band.
Do you really want to wear like a chunky metal wristband while you're out getting all sweaty? I know I sure as hell don't.
You can buy the band separately, can't you?
I don't know if you can change the bands. I think it comes with the band, right?
Well, I
No,
know
no,
you
they-
can change the bands because in the first event they
Yeah.
showed how they made like the cool way to change them.
Oh.
Yeah, they have those like weird, like a really simple locking, so you don't need to do it like the way like Android Wear, something else does.
Put
where
a
you just-
rubber
It's
wristband.
like a real watch where you need a screwdriver and stuff.
Yeah, you don't need any of that. It just has this weird magnetic locking mechanism. I know Johnny Ive like went on about that for a while,
Well,
but
they didn't even touch on that at the last because you would
Yeah,
figure
they
if they're
didn't.
announcing pricing and stuff, they'd be like, you can buy extra wristbands for this price or whatever. They didn't announce any of that.
yeah, that's weird. But
I don't know. I think
Well,
it's
what did you guys think about like the event in like the whole thing? I think we talked about it a little bit, but just how they were kind of dragging it out. Like Kevin was saying, they literally played a video before each different version. That was so ridiculous.
I mean, it was my day off, so like I was like, I don't have to watch this ish, and I was just sleeping in. I was eating my like Fruity Pebbles. It was just like I don't even want to bother with that, but
yeah. I was
I
into
missed
it. And the Apple Watch to me wasn't even the coolest thing they showed there. There were several things that were kind of more earth-shattering announcements than the Apple Watch, I would say.
Yeah, stay tuned for that later.
I mean, yeah, we will talk about the new MacBook later. But I mean, even you think of, even if it wasn't the best, and even if people are kind of like disappointed with this announcement, I think the HBO Now announcement kind of is a little more earth-shaking, and then even the health research apps were kind of cool and something kind of interesting that I think
Yeah.
is kind of more interesting to hear about than the Apple Watch thing, which was just a rehashed presentation. I don't want to get a heartbeat.
Oh, sorry.
I'm just saying I'm not really interested in drawing pictures and sending heartbeats and things.
Yeah.
You know?
Seriously, oh my God, that flower that guy drew on stage. I think he got divorced after that because it was pretty bad drawing. No, one thing I will say, there's been a couple articles about how, the Apple Watch doesn't offer anything new and it can do everything that Android Wear can do, blah, 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 blah. I don't think that's true. I think there are a couple big things that the Apple Watch does that Android Wear can't do. Number one, you can take calls on the watch and like talk to the person through your watch.
that's awesome. I
You
like
can't
that.
do that on Android Wear, and I think, yeah, that is awesome.
I think Android
the other
Wear-
thing, the Apple Pay with the watch, I think is really cool. Like, who wants to pull? Because, okay, you're using your phone to pay, so you don't have to pull out your wallet, but yet you still have to pull out your phone. I mean, how much easier is it just like tap your wrist on the thing? That's awesome.
Speaking
sure.
of Apple Pay, the one thing they talked about at the event that struck home with me is I don't have my iPhone 6 Plus anymore, so I don't have Apple Pay anymore. But when I had that, when I was using Apple Pay, I never really used it in stores, but I loved using that on the vending machines around that have the NFC scanning on it. You just go up, boom, boom.
Oh, that's right, the Coca-Cola machines.
Yeah, and they talked about that at the event, and I was like, oh yeah, that is kind of like a really cool use for that. You don't have to dig out quarters, you don't have to have a dollar bill on you, so I like that.
I really
Is that
did think
only on Coke machines that they have that, or
No,
I've never seen that.
the machines I use it with are Pepsi machines, and it's
Yeah.
most of those machines they're not like built for. I mean, again, it's not for Apple Pay. It's just touch to pay.
Right.
These machines have like combo. They take credit cards or cash or change, but then they also have the NFC touch payment thing. So
yeah, I see those everywhere.
it's nice.
I've yet to use that. I've yet to use Google Wallet. I want
Really?
to sometime. Yeah.
I do. I mean, I've done it, but every time I do it, I feel like an idiot, and
Yeah, I
especially
get so self-conscious.
I'm just waiting to see more people with iPhones do it, and then I won't feel so stupid.
well, the most frustrating part is I go to a lot of places where they have the touch to pay thing. Even my old barber used to have it, but it was never like turned on or activated. I don't know if they just didn't know how to do that part, like in the setup or whatever. But I would tap it and it'd be and it'd be like, oh, failed. And I'm like, hey, does this work? And they're like, no, you gotta pull out your regular credit card, you idiot. I'm like, oh yeah, okay. Dig through my credit card, pull it. Like it's just so. It happens to me all the time. I think, like more often than not. It's annoying, but.
You have to use your credit card? That's ridiculous.
like an animal. I have to like dig through my credit cards.
It's like that scene from Back to the Future, and You have to use your hands.
I need to see your ID, sir. And I'm just
I
fine.
just can't wait until they install the NFC chip in my hand and I can just move.
Man, I'm gonna
You
be
need to
first in
transfer
line for
money to
that.
someone, just be like,
That's the book of Revelation right there. My mom's been telling me that's coming forever since I was a kid. Okay.
and then he said, "There shall be pay to pay with hands."
You do it with your forehead too, first of all, so you can just tap your forehead on the thing.
Yeah, that makes sense because your hands are full carrying your groceries. You just tap your head.
Yeah.
And the forehead.
All right, so that was pretty much the big stories this week. Couple smaller things to touch on. Android 5.1 is rolling out now.
Woo!
I guess there's some pretty big improvements in that, just in kind of like stability and memory leakage and stuff like that. Is that ridiculous?
Lots of
Yeah,
leakage
gotta.
fixed, which is always good.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what the huge headlining feature of 5.1 is, but there are a lot of fixes.
It was tons of fixes, which is good because previous versions of Lollipop was a complete shit show, to say the least. But now it's dual SIM support for phones that have dual SIMs, so not really a big deal for us, but in
Android
emerging
1.
markets in India and stuff, that's great. They're gonna love that. And then HD voice support, which not too many carriers really support that. I think it's T-Mobile
T-Mobile
and
and
Sprint or something. So that's awesome, I guess. Really cool. And that's it. I think dual SIM, HD voice.
Didn't they say for Android Wear it like brings Wi-Fi something or other?
An update to Android Wear eventually is gonna add that. Yeah, I don't think this is that right now.
Yeah, I don't think that was in the thing, but
In the
from what I
future.
saw. Yeah, the bullet points. So it's a relatively small update, but it's just hilarious because all these people that had just got 5.0.1, who were waiting for 5.0.2 to fix these bugs, 5.1's already out, and now these people are freaking out because now they're 2 versions behind. I mean, and it's the same tired old story with Android. I mean, it's like you think we would know better by now. You think people would just learn to this is how you have to live. This is what's going to always happen. Google's going to announce a new update. Nexus devices are going to get it, and you got to sit there like
It's
an
not
idiot.
even that bad.
It's honestly, it's not. There's not. I mean, in most of these fixes, the OEMs already implemented in their custom versions of Android. So a lot of these people, these partners, were already in talks with Android. They figured out what these bugs were, and they patched it up in 5.0.1. But people, they love that version number, and the fact that
Yeah.
someone else has a version number higher than them, it drives them batshit crazy, and it's hilarious because I'm like, you should know this by now. This is how we live.
People really think about it wrong. I think I may have said this before on the podcast because there was last week the report that only 3.3% of Android devices are on Lollipop, and the way I look at it is 90%, 99%, whatever of Nexus devices are on Lollipop.
Yeah.
HTC devices, they're all on the latest version of Sense. Samsung devices, they're all on the latest version of TouchWiz. That's the way you got to think about it.
For sure, it really is. I mean, that would actually be a really good opinion piece, I think. And not only that, I mean, a lot of these, like when Nexus devices gets updated, some of these new features, these are features we've had in Sense forever. These are features we've had in like TouchWiz forever. I mean, really, they're getting these small little features that we've already had in these custom versions of Android. So it's not like you're really missing out on much. I mean, you can be completely content in KitKat, which I have been for a while now, but now I'm starting to get that itch. Now that 5.1's coming out, and I'm just I kind of want that 5.1. But I mean, really, it's just funny. It's just funny how the whole Android thing always works out, and nothing really has changed. It's been this way since the beginning, since the very beginning. It's probably going to always be this way. I don't really see a solution to this, and whatever.
All right, so speaking of Nexus, just quickly here, Nexus 6 is finally coming to Verizon. It's launching on March 12th. And LG G4 leaks are starting to pick up, and according to some of these leaked images, it's looking like it might have that curved display that the Flex did.
You better
Which would be
believe.
cool.
If Samsung's flagship has a curved display, LG's flagship will, without question.
It looks a little more subtle than the G
It
Flex.
does, yeah.
But it'll be if they release that as if they pull a Samsung and have like the LG G4 and then the LG G4 Flex, it won't. I'll be like meh, whatever. But
You blew it. You blew it.
if they're if they're bold enough to just release the LG G4 and have the only version of it have a curved screen, I think that'll be. It might not be the greatest phone, but I think it'll be a bold move on their part. So.
And like you said, it's a pretty subtle curve. I don't think anyone's gonna freak out about it if that's the only flagship they have.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to think of other ways they could use like the whole bendable OLED displays and stuff. And really, I guess that's all you can kind of do. You could do the old Samsung round way, like a taco, which looks ridiculous.
That was the dumbest thing.
That was the worst.
Definitely better, yeah.
I forget. Someone was still sticking up for that though. They were like, "Oh, it fits better in your pocket. That's why they did it." I'm like, oh.
Better in your pocket than the G Flex does, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. Like looking on the bright side of things. Ridiculous.
All right, so let's move on to our wins and fails of the week. Got some good ones in here, I think.
Yeah. All right, my win. Thank you. My win for the week is going to be the new MacBook. Hear me out on this. I know. I know. Ultimately, it's kind of a letdown. But when they showed that thing off on stage at that press conference on Monday, it really, the size of it blew me away. I mean, they got this thing small. They threw in the Retina display, which is nice. They've crammed everything down onto a tiny little circuit board, put in tons of batteries. This thing is thinner than a MacBook Air, only 2 pounds. It's great. I mean, it looks awesome, and I think it's a testament to Apple's ability to really design some really awesome things. I like that they, for the first time in their MacBook line, introduced multiple color options, so you can get like a nice space.
Yeah.
You can get the gold. You can't deny that it's a really well-designed MacBook, a really well-designed laptop, but it is lacking in some areas. I think it's cool. It uses USB-C, so it's going to be one of the first widely available devices that uses the new USB standard, which of course has it's reversible, and it's also going to be it's one port, the only port on the device, but it's going to do charging. It's going to do all your other connections for HDMI, for DisplayPort, all the things. So they're going to sell adapters for this, which I'm kind of hesitant about because Apple adapters are always so expensive, but they claim that it's going to work fine with third-party adapters too. It should be a little bit cheaper. So a little bit pricey, and again, it's not the fastest. It's got the Intel M processor in there, which is kind of a middle ground processor between a mobile processor and a full-on laptop, desktop grade processor. So it's not going to be the fastest. It compromises there, but it looks good doing it, and it's pretty sweet.
Kevin, would you say the new MacBook is sexy?
No, I would not say the new MacBook is sexy. I would say it is appealing, maybe. That would be good, but like not sexy. It's not. It is not. It does not turn.
Kevin doesn't like describing tech with the word sexy, by the way. In case you.
It makes me feel a little weird. But what else was I going to say? Oh, the pricing for it. It's pricier than the MacBook Air, right? It's a little bit more expensive, even though it's small. And it's also introduced some confusion in the line because it brings back just the MacBook without a modifier on the end, so it's just MacBook. But it's smaller than the MacBook Air, so maybe they're going to eventually phase the MacBook Air out and replace it with the MacBook as it gets better. They have
Air, double Air.
And they have updated the Pro. Oh, one feature that I didn't even touch on, pun intended, is the new trackpad, which is pretty cool. It's sensitive. It's pressure sensitive, which adds some new gestures. It can be clicked on any part, and it's responsive. It has.
And what about the butterfly keyboard?
Oh yeah, the
butterfly.
The butterfly
It's just
hinge.
like butterfly wings, butterfly kisses on your fingertip.
The one thing I didn't see though, which I worry about, is the speakers. Like, it doesn't look like it had very nice speakers.
That'd be hilarious if they just didn't say that. But like a week from now, someone discovers, hey, it doesn't have speakers.
It didn't look like it had speakers or a headphone jack. So
that's the beauty.
Johnny and I just like, oh crap! I knew we forgot something.
You need an adapter for the speakers.
It's not something you should hear. It is something
It's something you should
You don't
feel.
hear it, you experience it.
All right, so we'll talk more about this MacBook in a second. I hear, but I just want to do my fail. I thought it's really cool that HBO finally rolled out their sort of competitor to Netflix and Hulu and other standalone streaming services. It's called HBO Now, and you don't have to have a cable subscription or satellite subscription. You can just subscribe to HBO Now and watch your favorite HBO shows and movies, past and present. The problem is it's exclusive to the Apple TV for God knows how long that will be.
3 months.
3 months, so you gotta wait 3 months. So that's not too bad, but you won't get it at launch, and it's $15 a month, which HBO's got some great content, but it doesn't. I've never known it to have a library of content quite as expansive as the much cheaper Netflix or even Amazon. I guess Amazon Prime's kind of pricey, but I don't know. I don't think the amount of content you get is worth the money, but I guess that's for cord cutters to debate if it's worth the cost. It's certainly not worth the cost if you have a cable subscription, because I think most times adding HBO to your cable package can be like as cheap as $10 a month. So if you want to get HBO by itself,
a lot of places even will throw HBO on like even the most basic package as like an introductory thing for a year, because that's how I have HBO right now.
I have HBO, and I didn't pay for it for the longest time, and now I think I just pay like a $5 like special rate on it. So if you have a cable package, it's definitely cheaper just to get HBO. If you know someone with a cable package, it's the cheapest to just get their HBO Go password. But if you want to be legitimate, you can get HBO Now.
That's what I do.
I mean, the thing with HBO Now is it's not cheap, but it is a good option for people who like cord cutting and don't want cable, because cutting the cord is not just about having cheaper options. It's also about just it really is. It's about sticking it to the cable companies and being like, I'm gonna get HBO Now because it's a more futuristic technology or whatever. It's not crappy cable stuff like that. Yeah,
I do like the idea of it, because if more and more networks start splitting out their services like this, then we get more to that reality that everybody wants, where they're like, I want to be able to pick and choose what I pay for. Like, I don't want to just buy the package that the cable company provides me. I want to be able to pick what I get and pay what I want for it. So I like the idea of it, but I hope they bring the price down. If they brought that price down to $10 a month, it would be a lot more appealing to me.
It is almost like they're kind of like they don't want it to succeed too much, because they could have made it a lot cheaper, and I think
maybe they could be feeling it out too. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it does drop to $10 later, but
yeah.
But Apple dropped their Apple TV to $65, which is a pretty good deal.
69, yeah,
$69,
that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that.
So I think it matches the Roku 3 now, because I think I got my Roku 3 for $70.
One of the Rokus. Yeah.
I'm still not sure why you would buy an Apple TV over a Roku. I think the Roku have a lot more apps.
Dude, I need that HBO now.
I need that HBO now.
I don't need that HBO later. I need that HBO now, bro.
You don't need that HBO now. All right, so my win of the week, I think the last time we recorded this podcast, the Pebbles Time was new. And ever since then, I've been wearing my Pebble. just because
for old
it
time's
was in the news, and I was like, hey, I'm going to wear this again and see what it looks like. And I haven't taken it off since, basically, and my Moto 360 has been dead for like over 2 weeks. I really like this Pebble Steel a lot more than I remember.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Like, I don't think, like, and there's no way you can. I mean, I'm trying to describe it to people, like, oh, it's got physical buttons. You don't have to, like, do this and that. And it's just, you can't explain it. It's something you just got to experience. You got to feel it, really.
Yeah, and I'm liking it so much that it's kind of bumming me out that I don't like the Pebble Time design, because I want it.
You don't like the Pebble Time Steel either?
The Pebble Time Steel looks a little bit nicer, but it actually has a much bigger bezel when you look at it.
Ew.
That bezel, man.
Bezel? Ew.
I just don't like bezel.
I'm holding out for the Pebble Watch Edition.
Yeah. The Pebble Time Edition.
Dude, that's what the MacBook should have been called. They should have called it the new MacBook Edition.
Oh my God.
That would have
did that.
Solid gold. Made it in solid gold. Dang.
Well, if the Apple Watch Edition is like $10K, and the normal one is $350. And a normal MacBook is, what was the base price of that?
Like
15 or
1500, yeah.
What would the addition cost? Like $50K?
No,
I
it'd be like
mean,
150.
solid going. If you're Lil Wayne and you're going to the studio, you know what? You can afford it. You want to bling it out. It ain't no thing.
So Pebble is cool in my book. Maybe in the future I'll write an editorial about why I think it's better than Android Wear.
It is. I'll back you on that 100%.
Okay,
I
cool.
got your back, bro. I'll just be in the comments. Derek, you know who's going to be in the comments battling you is Derek.
Oh, I'm sure a lot of people will battle me, and
He'll be
don't get me
shizzling
wrong.
you.
I like Android Wear a lot, actually. I like the Pebble a little bit more. It's so cool to just like throw this on the nightstand at night, and I don't have to worry about charging it at all. It's gonna be ready in the morning.
Where's my charger? I hate that. All sleepy.
Charge it once a week, and you're good. It's cool.
Yeah.
All right, so my fail of the week is going to be CyanogenMod is making their own email app, and I don't really have any issue with that, except for the fact that they kind of give Google a hard time for bundling a lot of stuff with Android now, and so they're going to start bundling an email app with CyanogenMod.
Yeah, I think initially that was kind of their thing, was like they hated the fact that Google was including all their apps and services inside of Android and kind of using Android almost as a Trojan for like all of their stuff, and so that Google can spy on you and snoop on you and do all that whatever, and making all that stuff mandatory. I mean, through the years, slowly but surely, you're seeing more and more Google services that they're making mandatory. I think Waze is going to start becoming preloaded, but yeah. So like now, Cyanogen's just trying to be the open source version of Google and just kind of stick with some of these core apps. But yeah, the email thing is interesting.
How times have changed that someone would feel that they need to be the open source version of Google.
Isn't it nuts? Like, I wish I could go back in time to when like I was scouring XDA forums and I was all like geeking out on this stuff, and just it's just so nuts. It's so crazy.
You know what's even more nuts is that Apple uttered the words open source in relation to one of their products at that press conference.
And it was hilarious, and everyone was just like,
Wait, what did they say? What was open source?
That research kit stuff.
the health research, yeah. Seriously, everyone was just like, what?
So Apple is capable of doing open source stuff. They just don't generally like it.
In 5 years, Apple will be the open source company, and Google will be the walled garden that everyone
sounds
calls.
like a great editorial. Write it up on iSource right now. Throw it up there.
All right, Chris, what are your wins and fails?
My win for the week, and this is really crazy. I know this is going to sound
I can't wait to hear this.
Peer
This
it
is
up
gonna
through the
sound
screen like a periscope, Chris.
completely nuts, and I know no one's going to listen to me. Everyone's going to think I'm freaking nuts. But the HTC Re, they gave this to us for free. I got the stupid pink version.
It looks kind of red. That's pink?
It's pink. Well, Rob called it orange. I mean,
I'd call that orange red, yeah.
Yeah, it really changes according to the light. Right now it's looking mighty orange, like a pale orange, but whatever. It's the pink version. So I thought this was going to be the dumbest thing when it came out. I mean, you guys know we kind of talked about it briefly a long, long time ago, and we said it was like a stupid idea. Like, no one's going to buy it. You can't compete with the Hero. This thing's freaking awesome. This is like the best thing that ever happened to me on travel. Like, I couldn't even believe it. Me and Rob, I mean, it sounds weird to agree with Rob about anything, but like we were in agreement that this was the coolest thing ever. It's got a super wide angle, so no matter where you go, you can just, like right now, I can clip it and it'll literally shoot all of my peripheral and everything into a shot. And the image quality is awesome. It's
What did you even use it for? Did you take any videos or pictures?
Yes, tons of pictures and videos. We were actually
Did you like put them on Twitter or something? I want to see how they look.
Okay, I'm gonna post them. Well, because the thing is that Rob wanted to do a post about the the Spain recap. Get it? Nudge, nudge.
Oh yeah, clever.
He was gonna do everything and then just show all the videos and pictures that we got captured using the Re and kind of use it as like a sort of review type deal. But it's so cool. So like, you just walk around and it has a little tether, so you just kind of tether it to your hand and you're just walking around and then like you see something cool and you just go tick, and it goes click and then you just keep walking and da-da-da. Oh, that's cool. Click. And then you just keep walking. Like, it's so much more convenient than let me pull up my phone. let me unlock it, let me go open the camera app, let me hold it, frame the
Right,
shot,
right.
and then you're just like, I'm not capturing all this other stuff because it's not wide angle, and then trying to maybe do a panorama or something stupid. It's just like, it's so much more convenient to have a dedicated camera. I mean, I'm not saying for like everyday use, but when you're going on trips and doing stuff, it was awesome. The video quality, top notch. The picture quality, I mean, it shoots like any other smartphone or something, but I mean, it's comparable with anything else. It looks great.
So
So convenient.
I know when I've traveled with you in the past, you like to carry around your mirrorless camera with you, or your
Yes.
a nicer camera. So on this trip, did you leave that at home and just take the Re? Were you able?
I mean, I still had it because I would take it to MWC, but I would leave my camera in my backpack. Like, there was no reason I could even figure out, like, for why. Like, I didn't have to take out my iPhone for any reason because it connects via Bluetooth. All those things get backed up to your phone if you want. And now, I think now there's an update where it can back up to Google Drive, it can back up to Dropbox, and it's just so amazing. Like, I have no problem spending $100 if it drops back down to that. I think for a while they had like a fire sale where it was $100. I would have absolutely no problem buying that thing. I think it's totally awesome. It's waterproof. Take it in the water. If it's raining, you don't have to worry about taking out your phone and getting all wet and messed up. I mean, I can't think of. It was so convenient and so utterly awesome. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it that I was saying this about the Re. I think it's the coolest little thing. There are some downsides to it and a couple of weird things, but I mean, I guess we'll leave that to the review. But awesome. This is so awesome. Like, I'm going to take a picture right now, just like this. Like, that's pretty close. And I'm going to be able to capture, like, my entire room. You're going to be able to see everything. You're going to see you guys. You're going to see everything all around you, and it's going to look so awesome. I'll post it to Twitter later. But, yeah, so that's my win. That's my win. The coolest, like, that's just, it's so surprising to me. I just would have never have guessed. But my fail for the week is going to be, the new MacBook, whatever, the new NetBook Air, Mac, whatever. So that thing is so ridiculous. Let me count the ways. So for one, it's got a single port, and while yes, USB 3.1, little C port, whatever, is awesome. It's the future. All this stuff. It's not the future right now, no matter what. So it's not standardized. You'll probably have the hardest time even finding accessories for this thing. But let me just add that there is an accessory for it, and Apple is more than happy to supply you with one, the little $80 dongle, which is insane, just to give you some extra ports on the side of this ridiculous laptop. It's underpowered. It's overpriced. Yes, it's light. Yes, it's got 2K resolution or whatever, but I mean, this is what the people that have been looking for a MacBook Air have been asking Apple forever. For frickin' ever. They're supposed to do it maybe like, 3 months ago when they announced the new Air refresh. They still haven't given you a Retina display on the Air. And here comes Apple like, just out of nowhere, we got a new laptop. Oh, it's the Air. Everyone thinks it's the Air. Nope, it's a completely different new line. It's a new freaking laptop line, and it's just so frustrating. And I'm sure the next version of the MacBook Air will probably have Retina because it's about damn time. I mean, they've proven they can do it on a processor. I don't know what's holding them up. I have no idea what's holding them up, but
there's nothing holding them up.
It's just, there really is nothing. I mean, they're just sitting there counting all their billions right now. I mean, like, Tim Cook's just swimming through his...
I mean, I can legitimately see it be a pricing type thing that they're holding off on. But
even if they did raise the price, which usually, I mean, generally speaking, like when a new MacBook comes out, it always stays at the same price. But they can offer like a Retina version. I mean, they did it with the 13, MacBook Pros and all that stuff. So it's not even a pricing thing, I don't think. And for whatever reason, they're just holding off on it. Maybe because they thought that they would just release this weird version, and because it was so underpowered and all this stuff, they kind of needed to give it that edge versus, differentiate it from the MacBook Pro, differentiate it from the MacBook Air. So they're just like, okay, this one's going to have a Retina display. The other ones don't have that. But I think it's absolutely insane. They should have called it a MacBook Air. They should have made this version, and they should have also updated the rest of the Airs to Retina display. Yeah,
I mean, I agree with you there. I think they should have done the Air name.
I think that's the one thing I'm so confused about it is, like you said, it's a new line. What is this thing? Like,
what?
Okay, so at first, like, the specs seem like, okay, this is a device for people who use keyboard stands with their iPads, but it's OS X, it's got a really underpowered processor, so I'm not really sure what you do with it. So then, okay, maybe it's a competitor for a Chromebook. Well, no, it's super expensive, so it's not a competitor for a Chromebook. And it's not a competitor for the Surface Pro because that has like a Core i7 processor, which can do anything you want. So it's like this thing is this weird in between. I'm not really even sure who would want it type thing.
And
But it does look awesome.
It does look great. I'm honestly so like the weight thing really because I'm traveling to events and stuff. I miss my Air. I've been using the 13-inch MacBook Pro, and it's like you can feel the difference on your back after like a couple of hours of walking around. And I mean, it's lighter, which is great. I mean, it just should have been called a new Air. They should have just left it at that. This is the new Air. This is done. But I mean, I guess they want to keep the other Airs going with all the ports and everything, so they had to.
Yeah, I don't think you want it to be the Air. I think if this was a new Air, that would be stupid.
Yeah,
it shouldn't be an Air.
The single port. So yeah, I guess it's like it's just their new low end netbook that's still somehow premium.
You can't even call it a netbook because of price. It's just
it's not such a weird netbook.
Yeah, it's such a weird.
It does sit in a weird kind of product category. Yeah. So, but people are gonna buy it. I guarantee you, people will.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh, they will. They will come. They will come.
Chris. All right. We're running long here, but that's fine because we didn't do a show last week. Bonus material. Let's get into our app picks.
All right, my app pick is going to be Edge color notifications. I'm picking this just because I was kind of impressed with how quickly someone came out with this. It's a app that emulates the Edge color functionality of the Samsung Galaxy S6 Edge, but you can install it on any Android app. So on the S6 Edge, there's this feature where you can assign your faves a specific color, and your faves are like your favorite contacts. And then when that person calls you or you get a notification from them, the side of the edge of your display will light up this color, and you can swipe out and interact and respond or whatever you need to do. And this is useful, so if your phone is sitting face down on a table, you can kind of see the color light up. And so someone made an app that replicates this functionality for all Android devices. It's not pulled off as flawlessly, but this app seems like, I mean, they definitely cobbled this together pretty quickly after the S6 Edge was announced. But it's kind of cool, and I don't know if it's going to grow into something bigger and more useful. We see that happen sometimes with apps that start off like this that are just emulating features. But for the time being, if you thought that S6 Edge feature was cool, there is an app out there that you can get it. So I thought that was kind of neat.
Cool. My app pick's kind of strange because it's an app that I installed and then loved and then had to uninstall. So just the other day I was randomly trying to see if there were any cool like new Twitter apps that were material design, and I found this one called TweetComb, and I'm not sure how new it is. I had never really heard of it. It was super far down on the list of results in the Play Store, but it has really awesome material design, like tons of different themes you can choose from. It's a really nice app, but I had to uninstall it for the same reason that I uninstall all Twitter apps that are not the official. And it's really the only person to blame here. Well, not person. The only company to blame is Twitter themselves, because I just can't use a third-party Twitter app because they've done so much to restrict the third-party apps. It sucks. Like in TweetComb, for example, GIFs, they don't play automatically. It just looks like a static image, so you might have no idea that it's a GIF. And things like I couldn't view my lists in the app, and it just sucks because Twitter apps, third-party Twitter apps, used to be awesome, but then Twitter has all these restrictions now, and it kind of just like forces me to always go back to the official app because I know everything's gonna work, and I don't have to worry about it. And I just hate that because TweetComb, if you're looking for a really nice material design Twitter app, TweetComb is great if all that stuff doesn't bother you. So yeah, that's my little rant about Twitter there.
Totally agree. I totally agree. I used to use Plume all the time, or all these other third-party apps, but then now like all these new Twitter features, like the video, like you said, the GIFs, all that stuff, even Vines now. I mean, to certain things, it's like they don't autoplay. You can't even tell. Like at least add a little play button maybe to show that it's a GIF, and then yeah, it's annoying. So I'm always using the freaking regular Twitter app, which I guess isn't bad anymore. They kind of improved it a lot, but.
Did you get the update where they have the material design?
Little material button? No, I'm not. Is that in the betas, or is that just an actual official?
I downloaded the alpha, but but apparently you don't need the alpha. Apparently, it's like a server-side switch that they make, So you don't even really need an updated APK. It'll just show up.
Oh, mine's not showed up.
Yeah, it took a while for mine to show up, actually.
So hopefully I get it. Cause that would be cool. Because I hate how when you scroll down and then a little thing pops up at the bottom and it just restricts my viewing. But yeah, I don't know. My app pick is going to be, it's an app called Emojily. This app is kind of weird because it's just, I would say it's probably going to be pointless for most people, but in Android, if you guys use emojis a lot, you'll know that Android emojis are completely different than those on iOS. I mean, to the point where you can send something and you think it's going to look some way and it's completely different on iOS, like they don't really look the same. I think, like, case in point is the little Android guy that has his hands up and he's like, yeah. On iOS, it's just two little hands that are just up like that. So it's
the hands in front of the face?
Yeah. So it's completely different, and you're never really sure what your emojis are going to look like. So Emojily basically lets you copy and paste whatever your emojis are in Android. You paste it into this app, and then the app will show you what it will look like on iOS, or basically like a vast majority of phones out there. So
I just looked this up. I cannot believe that this app even exists.
it's just like it's a conversion or like a translate. It's an
emoji
conversion app, and it's completely weird and silly, but at the same time it's kind of awesome because I'm kind of big on emojis, and it's always frustrating me that I don't know exactly what it looks like on the iOS side of things, or even when I post to Twitter, because you figure you post it to Twitter and a majority of the people on Twitter are probably using iPhones, so it's like I don't know what it looks like, if it looks right. So yeah, it's,
you know what is how emojis don't show up on desktop.
You know what really grinds my gears?
Seriously though, that does grind my gear. Like people, if you use the Facebook mobile app or something, or even Google Plus on your phone, and you put an emoji in your status, and then you look at it later on the computer, and it's a stupid square. Like, come on, it's 2015. Why are emojis not showing up on the web?
I don't get why it's not. I don't know if it's a Chrome thing. There's an extension for Chrome that lets you. It'll display the emojis properly, but you have to use an extension. And then there's yeah, but I don't get why it's just not a system thing. Like, why doesn't the computer just have these? I know iOS does, but it doesn't display. I guess it's dependent on like these specific apps and stuff. So emojis are built into OS X, but they just don't show on Chrome and all these other apps. So yeah, it's frustrating. It's stupid. I mean, this should just be the universal thing. Emojis are a universal language. They should be everywhere now. There shouldn't be these little blank text boxes.
Kevin, your thoughts on emojis? Go.
I love emojis, and I'm frustrated when I can't send emojis to my friends that use Android phones.
we have them now. We got emojis. Dude.
I don't trust that it's gonna come across right, you know.
Yeah. That's actually very true.
Try to send a picture of a peach, and they'll be like, "Why'd you send me this picture of a cucumber?"
The joke is lost. All right, so I guess we gave you like almost 10 minutes of bonus that we making up for last week. Bonus!
Can I ask Chris one question?
Oh yeah, you have to ask this question.
What phone are you using?
Why the hell do you guys want to know? Okay, well, I mean, temporary though, but Rob let me have his Galaxy S5, so I was just kind of, like researching it. I've kind of been using it during Mobile World Congress.
Researching it.
I will say that I hate everything about this phone except for the display, which I love. And that's
I think there's 8 things you hate about it, actually.
Yeah, there's 8 huge. I'm going to update it because I'm going to go back and just say, like, for 2015, this thing is even slower than I remember it. It's so stupid, slow, and laggy, but other than that, the display is great. It's got a great display.
So I guess there were people who guessed how many weeks you were going to use that Droid whatever.
It's still here.
Yeah, but doesn't count, man. You didn't use it during Mobile World Congress. Yeah. So I guess it was like, what, 3 weeks?
I might go back to it. The problem is, okay, this is really horrible too, is like I feel like I can't go back to it because when I powered it up today when I got back, the display, the 720p display looks so blurry and ugly that I can't even bear to even look at it anymore. So I just can't wait till the S6 comes out or whatever. I'm just waiting for the new stuff.
We had a couple 2 weeks. We had someone said 2.75 weeks to be exact. So that was
Is there
probably
like a counter? Someone should make a counter for that, and I can put like a widget I can put on my home screen. It just starts
Yeah.
counting down the
Let's
days.
make a website. How long has Chris had his phone.com?
Actually, what we need is just a website of what phone is Chris using right now. That would be a good website. All right, I think it's going to wrap things up for this week. You can get in touch with us with our email address, podcast@mobileroar.com. There were some emails people were sending us just comments on things that we talked about. We appreciate those. Even if you don't want to ask questions, you can just let us know what you think about the podcast. That's cool. You can subscribe to the audio version of the podcast on Stitcher Radio, iTunes, and anywhere else pretty much. You can subscribe to us on Twitter. Subscribe to us. Subscribe to me.
That's essentially what you're doing.
Gamercore. Kevin is at You Don't Know Kev. I am at Tall Schmo, and the podcast is at Mobile Roarcast, all one word. But we'll see you guys next week, same time, same place. See ya.
Bye.